Hi there, and welcome to Let's Slow Down, a podcast for all of you who feel tired and stressed from this overwhelming world. Here we'll have fun, inspiring conversations about living life on our own terms and explore ways to ease the pace of our modern world, because life really is good when you're relaxed enough to be present for it. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Stolting, and I welcome you to this space where I hope to inspire you to slow down, because life is too short to let it go by in a blur. So take a deep breath, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Let's Slow Down podcast. Today's topic is decluttering, one of my favorite things to do and to talk about. And we have a decluttering expert on the show today as our guest. I'd like to welcome Noelle Fowler. She runs a holistic decluttering coach business called Make Room to Breathe. She helps busy women simplify their lives to make room for what matters most. Her simple, practical, and sustainable approach to decluttering is meant to fold into the rhythms of everyday life, because no one wants to spend their whole weekend decluttering just for the piles to come back. She runs the Making Room membership that equips women to simplify and curate a home they love and that works for their current season of life. Welcome to Let's Slow Down, Noelle.
Thank you so much for having me, Anne-Marie. I'm excited to be here.
Excited to have you here and to talk to you. We have so many connections just as we were getting to know each other before the podcast started recording. We realized we lived in the same state, quite close together. We actually went to the same college. We were both education majors, and we are both passionate about decluttering. So I think this is going to be really fun.
Definitely.
I'd like to start off by just kind of asking you a little bit about your story and what led you to this work.
Yeah, so I started as a professional organizer, which is kind of funny considering what I do now because they're sort of in contrast with each other. I teach full time, I teach eighth grade English. And during the pandemic, I started getting really into organizing. And so I bought a bunch of things and watched all the shows and, read Marie Kondo's book and whatnot. And just loved organizing. So I did our whole house and then I started doing it for friends and then realized I could get paid to do it. So I started my own LLC and was organizing during my time off in the summers. And it was super fun. I was good at it and I liked it. But the more I organized, the more I realized that I wasn't actually helping people, at least not in the way I wanted to, because I was just doing the work for them and I was basically organizing their job. Even though part of organizing and part of what a professional organizer does is declutter and, go through and work with the client, at least the way I did it, I worked with the client to decide what to keep and what not to keep. I was still making the decisions for them and basically hiding their clutter in these bins that they were paying me to buy and label and make look pretty. So I learned that organizing wasn't getting to the root of clutter and that there was way more stuff beneath the stuff. And not physical stuff. I'm talking about emotional stuff, which I know you know. So I pivoted from professional organizing to becoming a holistic declutter coach, where now I teach women how to declutter their own stuff. And because I believe that decluttering is a learned skill, even if you, love shopping or love having a ton of things, I think that you can learn how to simplify and declutter and be organized. So I love teaching women to do that instead of doing it for them.
It is such a skill. I love that you are using the word teach with this because, first of all, like you said, if you just go in and kind of organize everybody's things, all their clutter, even if you do pare it down a little bit, it's going to go back. I mean, inevitably, even in my home where I know these things and I work to constantly be paring stuff down, we go through these seasons where it's like, okay, we've got to do it again. Things have kind of just accumulated again because that's life. So the fact that you're really trying to kind of hold their hand and educate them as to why and maybe get to the root cause of where some of this is coming from is so important. And I think that that's the missing piece that is oftentimes kind of the reason why people fail with this. I know for me, I failed a million times. I was also buying the bins for myself for many years. And I was beating myself up like, why can't I keep up with this? Like, why am I still spending every night? This was after I had kids. Why am I still spending every night cleaning all this stuff up? It all had a spot. I thought I kind of donated some of it, but it was still too much. And until I really learned to declutter and to kind of have these new systems in place, it was just a cycle that just kept on repeating. So, as a coach, what are some of the big reasons that people have trouble with this or just hurdles that they have to cross?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I your experience makes so much sense. I just want to say decluttering is not a one and done kind of thing. Neither is organizing, but decluttering, I mean, I got rid of 50% of my belongings 3 years ago, and I still declutter weekly because as long as we as humans are consuming, we're still going to have to be decluttering. And it is way easier and way quicker now that I'm in a maintenance mode, which is my goal to get women inside my membership. But yeah, it's not a one and done kind of thing. We're gonna forever be decluttering. So one of the things that I teach, one of the ways to get to the root cause of clutter is by talking about the stories we tell ourselves about our stuff. Because a lot of the time it's hard to let go because we're telling ourselves these narratives inside our head. So for example, one of the narratives is I can't get rid of this. I spend too much money, right? Like a piece of exercise equipment that's sitting in the corner of your basement that you bought during the pandemic and you don't even use anymore, but you just can't get rid of it because you feel guilty. A lot of the times it's things like that, or maybe an expensive electronic. And so I help women rewrite those stories that they tell themselves. So the story rewrite for that is the money was spent when I first bought that item, not the moment I decide to let it go. If you let it sit and you walk past it every day and feel guilty, it's still costing you. It's costing you that mental energy and even that guilt for not using it. So that's one of them. And then another one is, what if I need this one day? That's another story we tell ourselves about our stuff. And the story we write for that is, I haven't needed it yet. And if I needed it in the future, there's a good chance I could reasonably and easily replace it, whatever it is. It's usually like, for guys, it's like a random screw or cord, right? And for women, it's an article of clothing that they're not going to wear, but maybe they'll need it for a party or a dress up day or something. That's what I see a lot. So another one is I should keep this because it was a gift, which that one gets really tricky. But the story rewrite for that is they gave me this gift because they care about me, not because they want me to have clutter. If I loved it or needed it, I would have used it by and maybe this could benefit someone else. So
Those
those
are
are
great.
yeah, those are some of the three most common ones. And I just want to say with the gift one, there's a lot more nuance there because you don't want to hurt feelings, but ultimately when someone gives you a gift, they're not giving it to you. So you feel like you have to keep it. They're giving it to you because they think you'll like it. And if you don't actually like it or use it, then it's costing you too much and it's time to let it go.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's also, those all those different love languages. Some people's love language is to give a gift, especially with kids, right? They always want to give the kids thing. And that's fine. That it's okay. That's how they're expressing themselves. But then what happens after that has nothing to do with that love that's shown or really that item is just sort of the transaction piece. It's not really the ultimate, goal or the true meaning of what happened there with the gift giving. So that's how I look at it a lot of times. And I would never tell someone, "Oh, you're not allowed to buy my child a gift anymore," or something like that. So just allowing them to express themselves and maybe use the gift for a while or not, depending on what it is. And then, like you said, there's probably someone else out there that could benefit from it or that needs it more and be good
Definitely.
stewards of the earth, donate it. We don't have to throw everything in the garbage, but it can find a new home.
Yeah. And I think too, I think there is a conversation that you can have. It's there is someone who, keeps buying the gifts and maybe it's not the right fit. Like experiential gifts are awesome, especially for kids. Like who doesn't
Yes.
want to go to the aquarium as a Christmas gift? So I think there are ways to have those conversations, but you're right. It is tricky. You don't want that.
Yes, very tricky, but I have jumped on the experience train
Mhm.
big time because they
Yeah.
are. It's stuff is so expensive too, and it's super helpful to get a gift like that, or to let if we're using like a grandparent for an example, then they can have one-on-one time with that child for the birthday or whatever. So that's really making a memory, and to me, money much better spent. We don't need another thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a great tip. And all of those stories that you just mentioned, I'm sure everyone is like shaking their head. It's resonating with us all. We've all been there. We've all told ourselves those stories. especially like, oh, well, what if I need it? It's literally been sitting in your closet or that kitchen drawer for 10 years. You haven't used it yet. So the chances are you're not going to need it. But like you said, most things are easily replaceable. You can borrow. I've gotten much better at like calling up a friend. Hey, can I borrow? I need a sweater with this dress for a wedding or something.
Yeah,
I'm only going to wear it once. I don't need it forever. Can I borrow? People are happy to, because that kind of stuff none of us use very often. So if you have it in your closet, you want to lend it out.
definitely. Yeah, I love that.
Messages.
We've even gone splitsies on some purchases. We have good friends who it was like a Black Friday sale, and there's this carpet cleaner that we both wanted, and so we split it because why do both of us need a carpet cleaner, right? And
You
so
don't.
we need
That
it,
was so smart.
grab it from them, and if they need it, they grab it from us.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that something like that, or like big tools, or like lawn stuff, that there's no need, half the time you end up doing it with the neighbor anyway, is helping each other out if you have good neighbors. And it's like we don't all need to keep one of those in our garage or our shed or our attic. So I love that. And I think it's a great idea. It saves money. And then you don't all have to store everything in your home. You can split that real estate cost as well. And speaking of cost, I love the other piece that you mentioned with the stories is, we'll use the pandemic treadmill. Okay, well, I dropped all this money, but now I'm not using it. It's like a clothes drying rack at this point, and you feel so guilty about it. But there is a huge element of guilt that's there every single day from keeping it. And I've noticed that I understand it. I still do it. I still do it. And there's been times like recently, I just got rid of a few more things. And I was like, oh my gosh, I felt so freeing and light, and just by getting rid of this stuff. And I didn't realize what a toll it had taken on me, the cost of it just being in my home and taking up space.
That is one of the number one things I hear from women who I work with. They're like, I didn't realize how much my clutter was stressing me out, how overwhelmed I felt. Like I knew I had a problem or I knew I needed to address this room, but I did not realize how much lighter, how much room to breathe I would feel from simplifying it. So yeah, so good when you do experience that freedom.
Yep. And your business, Making Room to Breathe, is a perfect title. I love it. And it is true. It does. I feel like you can just like have this sigh of relief, and everything feels easier. Last summer, this was a big one for me. I got rid of my china, had a china cabinet. I don't have a formal dining room. We didn't really have space for it. It was kind of in a spot where we walked a lot, and it would bug me because we don't use our china. I didn't really even want it, but a little bit old school, and I'm older than you, but back in the day, we all registered for China when we got married. It was just like the thing to do. And my mother-in-law, oh, you'll use it one day, you'll need it,
Right.
because they did, but
Okay.
it's just a different generation, and we're not super formal people. So needless to say, we didn't use it. It's like, and if we wanted to use it, we'd have to kind of clean the layer of dust off first. It was a huge hassle. My regular dishes were all kind of getting chipped and beat up, and it was time to let those go. And I was thinking about buying new, and I thought, why would I do that? I literally have like a whole set of dishes that no one uses.
Mhm.
So I decided we're eating off China. Like, why
Amazing.
else do we have this stuff?
I love
So
that.
that's what we do. Yeah. And we got rid of the China cabinet, and we put everything in the regular kitchen cabinets, and we use them every day. However, people will laugh at this. Mine has a silver rim around it. So fireworks, when you put it in the microwave, it cannot go in the microwave.
That's all right. You can work
So
around that.
we're learning to work around it. So that was the one piece that I hadn't totally thought of, but
It's like,
it's
that's what you had. You didn't go out and buy a
yeah,
new one because you had something that already worked, and you even made more room for yourself in the process. I love that so much. That's
yeah.
awesome.
And the feeling that I got, I mean, I'm used to it now, but I did it last summer, and I tell you, for like at least a month, maybe more, every time I walked through that room, I was like, "Ah, it's so much more open in here." That I would always hear the glasses clinking, like I was afraid they were gonna fall over. It just bothered me, and I didn't realize how much it bothered me until we made that move. And yeah, and we're using what we have. Like, there was no reason to go buy more stuff. We had it. So that was
Love
a
that.
big
Oh,
lesson
yeah.
that I learned. Yeah. And you
You
know what? We have all this fancy stuff that we like save for a special occasion that we never use. I mean,
exactly.
every day is a
You
special
can do that.
occasion.
Exactly. Yeah. Make every day a special occasion. Light the candle, use the fine china. That's great.
Yeah. So, how have you found decluttering to help you live more intentionally?
I talk about this with my husband. I feel like there is not a single aspect of our life that has not been affected by decluttering, that has not improved by decluttering, honestly. I mean, I talk a lot about decluttering to make room for what matters most to you because we, especially women, have a lot on our plates and there's only room for so much. Like we can only handle so much. And if we are handling, 30% of our load is managing clutter in the house and we don't even realize it, then something else is off the table. We don't have room or time for something else. So it's given me more time to focus on my health, to exercise regularly, to cook whole food, which is just really important to my husband and I. It's given me time to give time back. Like I am volunteer for a youth group weekly at my church, and I just feel like I'm able to be generous with my time. One, I'm in the season of life where I'm married and I don't have kids yet, right? So I just want to put that out there. Like I know it's different having a mom, but my load got so much lighter. Managing a house got so much lighter when we decluttered, when we ruthlessly decluttered and got rid of 50% of our belongings. So more time to focus on our health and to give time back to the community. And I would just say like less rushed. I know you talk about that a lot. Let's slow down. I just felt less rushed. That doesn't mean there aren't busy seasons during the year. There certainly are, but I just felt like I had more time on my hands. And for the women that I work with and who I coach, like they want to be intentional moms. They want to have family dinners. They don't want to be yelling at their kids because they're so overstimulated. And so we work to peel back the layers and get rid of the clutter so that they can be a non anxious presence with their kids, so that they can have more time during the week to cook a family dinner or maybe not run from soccer practice to gymnastics. So just making time for the things that matter most to you. And that's going to depend on who you are, what season of life you're in, and what really matters to you. Because some people might not care about eating whole foods or exercising, but there's something else you really care about that you could have more time for if you simplified.
I agree completely, and I found those same things happening as we worked on these, implementing decluttering and slowing down, living more intentionally. We had the same stuff come up, and you don't even know like what's important, what matters when there's so much. I feel like it all just gets lost in the shuffle and the noise. And it's really hard to decipher what really matters to me. And it seems on the surface like a really simple question, but I had a hard time answering it at first. I mean, I knew the big ones, obviously, what matter, but there was so much more. And it took a while and it took really making the room physically around me in my environment, in my calendar, in my mental load, just having a little bit of space to think, to really figure all that out. And like you said, it's not like a one and done. This is a process and it constantly evolves and changes as we do. But a lot of benefit can come out of this process. And interestingly, we found in clearing our calendars a bit, we found more time for something that mattered to us too, which was volunteering.
Mm.
And it was one of those things, and it's also at our church. And there were a few different ministries that I really wanted to get involved in. And I'd go there each week and I'd see what was going on with them. And I'd always be interested and curious and want to do it. And then I look at my kids and I look at my calendar. I'm like, I can't commit to this. I'm not going to be able to really, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all in and really be there. So one day I was like, enough. This matters to me. Some of this other stuff doesn't. I'm going to make some changes and find the time and find the room for this volunteer work. And we did, and that was several years ago, and it's my whole family has gotten involved in some of these organizations, and I can't even put into words. I mean, yes, we're helping others and we're doing good, but what we also get out of it, I mean, it's just like it's a beautiful thing, and I'm so grateful that we made time for that in our lives. And I think just it's instilling certain values in my kids as they grow up, and I think it's really, really important, so much more important than some of the other things that we were previously busy with.
Yeah, that's amazing. You guys made that shift. And I know that's gonna be hard, especially with kids. I think like we think that giving back or service is to help someone else, but really it changes our heart. Right. And so it sounds like that's what you experienced. That's definitely been true for me. One statistic that is just mind boggling to me is that in the average American home, if you were to declutter it, housework would decrease by 40%. 40%. The average American. Like, who does not want to do 40% less housework? Especially women who are listening right now. there are so many benefits to decluttering, and you won't know until you just dive in and start to make some of those changes.
And it's like, if you told someone, I didn't know that statistic, that's
Yeah.
mind blowing. If you said, hey, I have a secret way to cut down on your workload at home by 40%, I mean, people would pay a lot of money for
Yeah.
that, big time. And you know what? It's free. Yeah, it takes some time and some major energy, but you can do it. We all have it at our disposal right now. We could start right this second while you're listening to this podcast. It's available to everyone, which I think is what's so amazing about something like this. With decluttering your home and your life is something we can all do.
Mhm.
It's
No
a
matter what
mindset.
Yeah, no matter what season of life you're in, it's not too late.
Forgive me for interrupting, but I wanted to be sure you heard that Let's Slow Down, the book, is coming soon. I've had so much fun compiling lessons learned from all my insightful guests, as well as adding a bunch of my own. If you crave simplicity, peace, and a more intentional life, I hope you'll check it out. Go to letsslowdown.net to sign up for updates. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. And it can start slow. I know a lot of times people don't start because it's so overwhelming and daunting that it's like you just don't even know where to begin. So you save it for another day. Can you think about it right now? But I've just noticed how doing something small really is very motivating and encouraging. Start with the junk drawer in the kitchen and then see where it goes from there. Just the mudroom, someplace small, a small closet. And you'll wanna do more. Like, everybody will want, even when I do stuff like that, even my kids, like, even the younger one who has a lot of clutter, like, she'll notice it. She's like, "Oh, this looks better, mom. I can find things." Like, even a child notices that this feels better. They might not wanna do it with you, but they
Yeah,
notice it. And my older ones do wanna do it because they recognize how beneficial it is. It's life-changing.
for sure. I teach people to declutter in 15, 20-minute chunks. That's all it takes. Doesn't have to be every day. But I think a lot of people think it has to be a marathon. Like it has to be, "Oh, okay, I got to declutter this weekend. We'll do it all on Saturday." And then you're like an hour and a half in and you're tired and you just have piles everywhere and you're overwhelmed and overstimulated. And that's just not the best way to do it, at least in my opinion. I think working in small chunks, like you said. I tell people to start in the bathroom because you use it often. So you're going to experience that benefit or that aha moment you felt walking through your dining room or the space where the china cabinet was. You're going to feel that every day once you declutter the bathroom. And also, there's no sentimental clutter in the bathroom. So, you're not parting with grandma's china or anything that's might be hard to let go. So I tell people to start there because it's quick win. And like you said, definitely going to make you want to keep going.
I love that. And that's, you know what? It's much easier to part with an old bottle of lotion that's expired than something really special and sentimental. So for sure. I did want to go back for a second because you mentioned that you and your husband decluttered 50% of your stuff. Talk to us about that. Like, that is amazing on so many levels. So how did you do it?
Yeah. So I guess part of the story too is I was a production organizer and I was in these people's homes and I was overwhelmed by stuff. And then I would come home to my house and I was overwhelmed too because I had got all the bins and the baskets and I just took all my stuff from the house I grew up in college. And when I got married and moved in with my husband, we just kept it all because that's what we thought we were supposed to do. I started learning about minimalism, which I know you talk about here on the show.
Mhm.
And I love Joshua Becker's definition of that, the intentional promotion of the things that matter most and the removal of anything that gets in the way of it. Sometimes people hear the word minimalism and they're like, what's a white wall and a white couch? And it's not for
Yep.
me. I think it's the intentional promotion of what matters most to you. And so anything that wasn't that, we got rid of. Like I said, we don't have kids yet, so I feel like we didn't maybe have as much stuff as other people, but anything that we didn't love or didn't serve a purpose in our current life, we got rid of. And I can honestly say there's nothing that we've gotten rid of that I've regretted or that he's regretted. It was so freeing and so liberating to just let go. And it didn't happen overnight. Like it took us probably about a year to get rid of all that stuff. So I don't want people listening to be like, oh, get rid of half your belongings. It was definitely a process, but that's what got me so fired up to teach other people to learn to let go.
It's such an important message and lesson. And it's amazing that you and your husband are on the same page with that. 'Cause I know it's not always the case.
For sure. Yeah.
Interesting that you really haven't missed anything that you're got rid of. That says a lot.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get there someday. We'll see.
I maybe
Like,
not.
we're good at borrowing things for people. And yeah, we've made some intentional purchases along the way. Like, it was actually a gift. We got beach chairs. And like, that's one of the things of like, oh, we're not going to buy beach chairs. We just borrow them. And then a family friend gave us beach chairs. And like, okay, these are our beach chairs. We can have them.
Now you appreciate them more, right?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So this episode, we're recording it at the end of May and summer's just right around the corner. So let's talk a little bit about routines and just different ways we can incorporate decluttering to support a more intentional summer with kids. If you have kids coming home from school for the summer, or even if you don't.
Yeah, let's start with if you have kids. One, yay, it's almost summer. This is such a special season of a kid's life, and I'm sure in a mother's life too, even though it looks different, depending on your work schedule and whatnot. But I would say declutter that backpack as soon as the kid comes home on that day at school. Do not leave that lunchbox until August or September.
Yes. I have learned that the hard way, but the last few years we've been good. I'm like, dump everything out, literally empty every single pocket and putting them in the wash, letting them, just hang dry and then put them away.
Yeah, I love that you do that right away. I think that's awesome. And then in terms of an intentional summer, I think we have to go in knowing what we do want to do. So I love the idea of a summer bucket list and somewhere visual where the kids can see it. Maybe they can draw a picture to represent it and maybe once a week, do something on the bucket list. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could be get ice cream or check out this new park. I love that idea. I think that really fosters excitement for kids.
It sure
Yeah.
does. And just having that conversation ahead of time too, leading into the summer. First of all, it's fun because yay, it is summer. We made it. And it's an exciting time as a child. It's exciting for all of us because even if you're not on a school calendar, summer is it's just a different season. Think about it ahead of time. Like, what do we want to make sure that we do this summer? Because just like everything else, we know how it goes. We blink and all of a sudden it's the end of August and we're getting back to school. So thinking about it a little bit ahead of time, just kind of make sure that you do the things that you want to do and you make the room for it because the days will go quick otherwise and you'll miss out.
For sure. And we've talked about calendar clutter. We've touched upon it. I just want to say, like, you do not have to go to every birthday party. You do not have to go to every family barbecue. That might make me unpopular with your mother-in-law, but like, you don't have to. It's your summer. It's your motherhood. It's your kid's child. And you get to decide how you're spending that. So I just know birthday parties are a huge thing and it feels like there's one every weekend for kids. So you don't have to say yes to every single one. You can politely say no and leave that breathing room in your calendar. I think your kids will definitely appreciate that too, especially come September. The summer, whoever you are, is a season for rest and slowing down. So let's slow down, like you say, like let's actually do it.
Yeah, such a good message. And you don't have to commit to it all. I mean, and a lot of times that it's that people pleaser in us that thinks we have to do it all. But we don't. We don't. And I was recently reading Courtney Carver's book, Soulful Simplicity. And she was talking about FOMO, fear of missing out. And she said, well, think about the joy of missing out. Like if you're missing out on something that is going to stress you out and it was like one of those obligatory have to do it, you don't. And you can say no. And then you can have the joy of having that time back and that space. And not that you need to fill it with something else, but just a little bit of margin. Like we need to include a little bit of margin in our days, in our week, every season, because there is so much. I mean, if we all wanted to, we could be busy every single minute. We
For
could
sure.
have something on the calendar, but it's not necessary. It's not really healthy for any of us.
Mhm. Yeah, everything we say yes to, we're saying no to something else. And like you're saying, when you say yes to that, event that you don't really want to go to, you're saying no to yourself, to your family's rhythm of rest, to a family dinner, to a slow Saturday afternoon. So I think that's really cool to think about. The joy of missing out. Yes.
Yep.
No to something else.
I guess it's another way to sort of change that story that we tell ourselves and
Right.
look at it from a different perspective. And it can help make those decisions.
Yeah. And then I just want to talk to you if you don't have kids like me, like you said, this summer, is an exciting time regardless because the weather's nice, we're outside more. And I would suggest similarly, like think about what you want this season to look like. Do you want to go to the beach once a month? Do you want to get together with that friend that you haven't seen in a while? And how can you carve out space for that? Plan ahead now. Not that everything has to be planned because you can also make some room for spontaneity. But I think that's really important. And with the changing of seasons comes a natural time to declutter. So decluttering your wardrobe, like now's a really good time to go through your winter clothes. And if you didn't wear it, you're not going to wear it next year. And it's time to let go. And I know a lot of people do like a seasonal swap in their closet. So you're probably already doing that if you haven't done that already. And things that you're pulling out of the summer bin that you're like, this isn't going to fit, or, I'm only keeping those because I got them on a good sale. Let it go. Make some breathing room in your closet too, I would say.
For sure. It's just makes sense to do that this time of year. I mean, even just the space wherever you're storing your stuff. I have a bin. I have my winter bin and my summer bin. And why store it for a whole nother 6 months, a whole nother season? If you did not wear it this year at all, you are not going to wear it next year. You're just not.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not going to wear it and you're not going to miss it. Someone else could use it.
100%. So, as we're winding today, I always like to talk to people about what their favorite ways to slow down are. So, what are some of your favorites currently?
Yeah. I love reading and I'm trying to incorporate that more throughout my day. I mean, I read like 2 pages before I go to bed and I fall asleep. But even like the other day, I had a chiropractor appointment and I was like, all right, I'm going to bring my book and I'm going to read my book in the waiting room instead of scrolling on my phone because that's what I normally do. So just slowing down, trying to be more present that way, reading a book instead of scrolling on Instagram is what I'm trying to do lately. And then I have been doing this for a while, but I have cheated sometimes and I definitely feel the repercussions of it. I don't look at my phone until an hour after I've gotten up. I sleep with it on airplane mode and do not disturb. And I have it as like a wake alarm. But that really focuses me to focus on what matters in the morning. So for me, I do eat breakfast in the morning and I do just a little Bible study in the morning. And there are days where I go on my phone first and am like off for the rest of the day. Like I started my morning looking at my notifications and inevitably there's some text that makes me mad or just something that pulls me away from that slow morning. So trying to lean into that more.
I love that. I've been doing the same. I actually got an old school alarm clock,
Me too.
and
Yeah.
that's how I wake up now. I
Wow.
mean, we got to upgrade those a little bit too, because like that beeping sound, it's pretty annoying. But you know what? It makes you get up. It makes you turn it off, and I don't use my phone for that anymore because the same thing that you were saying, you get inundated by just so much, and even just the bright light. Not good for us first thing. We're supposed to have sunlight before blue light. And I find it to be a much slower, more intentional way to just start the day and more on your own terms. I don't want to wake up just having all this stuff thrown at me and just constantly being reactive. I want to wake up more present and focused on what matters and how I want the day to go before all those things kind of bombard me from all directions. So I love that. Yes, everyone go buy a regular alarm clock. It's
Mhm.
kinda cool.
Yeah, my pastor suggested that maybe like a year and a half ago, and I did it right away and not look back. I do have my
Gosh.
alarm. I have my phone alarm as a backup, like I said, just in case, because there have been times when the power's gone out.
Yep, mine is like a battery operated alarm clock, so there you go. I've been putting my phone downstairs, like, I don't even want it in the bedroom, I just don't want it near me when I'm sleeping, so I love that. I think that's a really great tip, and that is something that honestly has been a huge change. Like, it's such a small little thing, but has made a really big difference. So I'm glad to hear that it has for you as well.
Yeah.
Noelle, it's been great talking to you and connecting. And I think that you're doing some really important work out there and really educating so many of us on something that we didn't necessarily learn growing up and as
Mhm.
adults are having to learn the hard way. So thank you for the work that you do. I will link where to find you, Instagram and your website. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what you have going?
Yeah, so the best place to connect with me is on Instagram. Like you said, you'll link it at Make Room to Breathe. And I run an online decluttering community for women It's called the Making Room Membership. And we talk about this kind of stuff. I mean, we talk about the root cause of clutter, and we actually declutter together live on our calls. And the way that I teach decluttering is a way that makes it so the clutter doesn't come back. And one of the biggest parts about the membership is that a lot of women that I talk to follow these organizing accounts and decluttering accounts, and they like and they save and they say they're going to do it, but they don't actually do it. They never start, either because they're overwhelmed or because they don't have someone to cheer them on. And so that's what we have inside the Making Room membership. You have me as your coach, and you have other women who are on the same journey as you, who are on a decluttering journey. So we have a lot of fun and we get rid of a lot of stuff. And it's just really cool to see. One of the biggest things I hear is that people love seeing other people's real homes inside the membership. Because, on Instagram, you see all these fancy Pinterest homes, but that's not what real life looks like. So seeing other busy women's homes and how they organize things and what they're able to let go of have been really beneficial for my members. And so we have calls about once a week, and we have actually a private app where we connect and ask questions and share before and after pictures. And so, yeah, I would love if they checked it out. It's called the Making Room membership. And then if you
Awesome.
liked the stories that I talked about today, or you just want to hear a little bit more about my approach, then I would encourage you to download my freebie. It's interesting because this is called Let's Slow Down, right? And my freebie is called Let's Make Room, a simple guide to go from clutter to calm. So just even more proof, Anne-Marie, that we're on the same page. And you can download that in the bio on my Instagram account.
Awesome. Thank you, Noelle. Thank you for being here and for just all the tips and stories that you shared with us today.
Thank you for having me, Anne-Marie.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode and have been inspired to slow down and start living life at your own pace. As a brand new podcast, your listener voice matters. If Let's Slow Down is resonating with you, please take a minute to leave a review and rate us. Subscribe to the show wherever you listen and share it with friends. Remember, this is a process, so go easy on yourself. Be gentle and take all the space you need to thrive, because the world needs you to be at your best, to love and serve others and yourself.